Alright, here's a quick how-to, but mostly I just want to vent. This is a Ferris Procut S series, I think 5900 533, and I'm trying to replace the starter solenoid. It has a remote solenoid. The starter doesn't have one. The solenoid's down there, and I need to replace the solenoid because it appears that it is bad or it's corroded or something. It probably just needs to be cleaned, but my cousin just bought a new one, so it was only like 20 bucks, so might as well throw in a fresh one and I'll keep that old one and test on it. But I just want to gripe real quick about how absolutely terrible this process is trying to get this solenoid out. You know, a remote solenoid I don't believe needs to be, grounded to the frame. It's two pass-through entities. It's just two switches in line, and it can pretty much be mounted anywhere. It could be put like right here on the side of the battery box. It could be put right here. It could be put right here. You could just stick it right on this little guy right here, this pickup thing for the engine. You can just throw it anywhere you want. So Ferris, or I guess Briggs & Stratton, who owns Ferris, put it here, underneath the hydraulic oil reservoir, underneath the hydraulic pump guard, and underneath the battery. So, and behind the wheel. So it's just two 7/16 bolts holding it on, and two 1/2 inch on the top, and two probably 3/8 or something on the other end holding the contacts on. Alright, so just got the solenoid out, and I think I figured out what the issue was. It looked like this contact right here had gotten bent, and it was not making proper contact, so it was not getting 12 volts. It was intermittently getting 12 volts across this, which was not letting full amperage through to crank the starter. And I may just need to clean up those contacts and put this back in, but my cousin bought a new solenoid, so we'll just throw that down in there. Although I think I have to take it back to the garage and trim it up a bit so it fits, but I'll throw it in there and at least see if it starts before I mount it, because I don't think I'm going to be able to mount this guy on. And that is because whoever works at Ferris, the engineers there, are evil. I think they designed this thing specifically to take as much labor as possible, because they probably own their own service shops or get a cut from them or something. I don't know. But it is not an intelligent design. It is a relative design. Somebody's relative designed it, and they couldn't say no. So the reason why this is a horrible design is because the solenoid is mounted right down there to the subframe, and the subframe's about 3/16 of an inch thick. They could have just threaded those holes and just had a bolt just go right into the top, because this guy is not grounded to the frame. It's just mounted, because you could put this anywhere. You could stick it over here on the side of the starter, you could stick it up here on this, you could stick it to the battery box, you can put it anywhere you want. Generally you want it somewhere out of the way where it's not going to get covered in dirt and water, but also where it's not going to hit something and short out. But they put it under the hydraulic pump reservoir, behind the tire, behind two hydraulic hoses, behind the battery box, between the engine. I had to take the battery out just so I could loosen the hydraulic pump reservoir, so I could pitch it up a 1/4 inch so I could fit my hand in there, and it was almost to the point where I was going to have to take the dang wheel off just to be able to get in there, but thankfully I was able to get in and break the torque. But then to get those bolts out, you have to reach literally all the way up underneath here to take the dang nut off the other side. Could have done a carriage bolt, could have done, well, I guess not a carriage bolt, but they could have welded studs to the frame, or they could have just, threaded the frame, but they didn't do that. Oh man, and of course one of those, it is literally in line with the belt, so it takes, there's like a 1/16 of an inch of clearance to be able to get it off, and I'm not looking putting that thing back on. But yeah, that's how you get it off. And then these little doodads down here just push onto these threads right here. Pretty simple. And then you have two 1/2 inch on top of that, which are annoying, but not as hard as once you have to take those off to be able to get them off. But once you do that, it's not bad. then you just put your hydraulic reservoir back on, and then put your battery back in, and then put this guy back on, and good to go, good as new. Alright, well, I've just kind of loosely thrown this universal one in there just to see if this cranks, because I'm going to have to modify that to be able to get it in. I'm going to have to cut this plate off, so it's going to have to come back out. So I've just thrown the battery back in and hooked all that up, and we'll see if she cranks now. I think I'm missing a safety somewhere. Well, alright, so I did not get a click out of the solenoid. That was actually the shutoff switch, shutoff solenoid in the carburetor. So I've got the key to the run position, and if I just jam a screwdriver down in here, more runs. So I think it is an ignition circuit issue. Well, have I got something to show you. I've got the new solenoid hooked up with leads to the solenoid contacts run straight to the battery, and then I have the voltmeter set on ohms, so just got that hooked straight through. If we take negative to negative, you know, we get no click out of the solenoid and no continuity. And I have reversed the polarity. I'll do it right now just to show you. Reverse the polarity. Nothing. However, if I slide on down here and move everything over to the old coil, alright, now the old coil is hooked up. Bam. 1 ohm. Can you hear that clicking? So, they sent a defective, entirely defective, non-operable starter solenoid. So great, that was a red herring, and I am extremely glad I figured that out instantly. And I think it was actually the bad contact I saw. I think what it was is simply that this yellow guy down here had been bent and then got corroded and just was not making good contact. And I actually got in here with a pair of pliers and squeezed it down all good-like, and then wire brushed all of that. And I'm going to wire brush that as well as these guys a little bit more, put the old one back in, and then see if it cranks, and if it does, then we'll reassemble everything, and hopefully that's all it took. And you will see how to put a starter back into your Ferris 5900, what is it, 533? That thing. Yeah. Oh Lord, this is how everything in my life is. Okay. This guy is now loosely back in there. It is just 2 push-on connectors on the back, white on the front, black on the back, and then it is red positive on the front, black, well, I guess they're both red, but the one with the ACC power, the double line, the one running from the battery and the one running up there to the ignition on the front, and then the other one running straight to the starter on the back. And it is 1/2 inch on the top, and it's just push-on connectors on the back. And then it is 7/16 up here on the battery, both sides. So you need a wrench and a ratchet, or 2 wrenches. But anywho, parking brake is on, butt safety is strapped down. Let's put her to ignition. We have power, solenoid's going. Let's see if she cranks. Oh, there we go. Took a minute. May still need to clean some contacts, but something's happening. Well, system may just need to be primed. Might need a touch of ether, but solenoid's working. Give her just a little bit more. Yeah. That was it. Nice. Alright, well, everything's back together. It is 7/16 here, 7/16 here, 7/16 here, 7/16 down there, 1/2 inch here, and it's 7/16 on top of the battery. So order operations is after you get the solenoid tightened back down, and you need to get an open-end wrench on here, or actually get an open-end wrench on this one, reach underneath and tighten that with 7/16 ratchet. Then you can't get a ratchet on this one, so you have to reach in, you have to tighten this by hand as close as you can. You can't get a ratchet on it because the belt's on there. So you reach an open-end wrench from underneath, grab it, and then you, before you torque this down all the way, slide it all the way to this side. Then you can get a ratchet on top of this, and you get one tooth. So if you've got like a 120 tooth ratchet, you're sitting easy. If you've got like a 60, you're SOL. Get two 7/16 wrenches and very slowly torque that down, but you'll get it eventually. Then just put the hydraulic pump back on. This guy point sticks inward because of this, although it doesn't really matter too much. And this guy, don't forget this harness holder down in there. Get all that back together, and good to go. However, now we have a no start issue, and it doesn't matter how much we run this with the choke on. We even got a little can of gasoline, squirted this straight down the yap, and it'll run just fine off of this. But it won't run off of its own power, which means we're not getting fuel. So this gives me a nice little segue. We might as well just, you know, go through all of the troubleshooting things you need to do in order to figure out what's wrong with an engine that doesn't start. So there's 4 things an engine needs to run: fuel, air, spark, and compression. So for something quick like this, where we know it was running like 3 months ago, first we go in, check the gas, look at it, give it a whiff, stick your finger in there, you know, or get like a little bit of a syringe or something, turkey baster, pull some out, and just look at it. If it's clear, if it smells fine, if it doesn't smell like paint thinner, it's probably not your gas. Next easy thing to check is spark. Just pop a spark plug, boot off, and then find something that you can jam down in there that's roughly the size of a spark plug that's made of metal. Easiest thing is if you got a spark plug socket, just take spark plug off. But then you have to take spark plug off, so I'm just going to take this 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch driver and jam it down in there like so. And if I prop this up so that it is just ever so slightly not touching the block, then when I crank, you should be able to see spark. Saw it there. We have spark, so spark is confirmed. If you didn't have spark, then you know it's an ignition coil or something like that. Might be in the ignition or something. You can go deeper into that, but we know we have spark, so I'm not going there. I know the gas is fresh, so it's not the fuel itself being, you know, like 40-year-old or something and varnished. Compression, you can hear that, and you heard it when it cranked over. That means it's making compression. Additionally, at this point, what you would do is pop the air filter off, and just make sure that the air cleaner is clean, and it'll tell you it is brand new, so it's not that. But to be sure, you can pull the air cleaner itself off, like so. I'm not going to do that. Just check, make sure there's not like a wad of leaves or a rag or something jammed in there. And then at that point, you want to get some gasoline or some starting fluid or something like that. Just give it a good healthy squirt, then crank it, see if it runs. And I can tell you, it runs, so I know it's not that. So that means it's not getting fuel somehow, and that either means that the solenoid down here on the carburetor isn't working, and as you can hear, that's the shut-off solenoid. It's cycling just fine, so that's not cutting it off. Now, what that to me seems to indicate is that it's either a jam needle and seat or bad fuel pump. Now, a bad fuel pump on one of these diaphragm engines is actually pretty easy to diagnose. What you do is you just take the outbound line off, like, yeah. Like that. And this is a vacuum diaphragm, so there's vacuum and then pressure, like this, back and forth, and it pulls and pushes this diaphragm, and it's got a one-way check valve, and it sucks fuel up and out. And if you crank this and nothing comes out of here, then you know your fuel pump's bad. And bad fuel pump. Now, if that worked, it's probably your needle and seat. So what you should do is get down in there with a screwdriver or something like that, and it's usually down here in the bottom of the bowl, and just give it some of that, but a little bit harder. Or just pour some like gum out or something like that straight into here. or siphon out your gas and just pour in like a real heavy mix of gum out and just let it sit overnight. And sometimes that'll clean it up. But I can tell you right now, bad fuel pump. So yeah, all that work just to find out that the solenoid was fine and just needed to be cleaned up a little bit and the terminal's pinched. Now it's a bad fuel pump. So yeah. Anyway, I don't have that part, but replacing a fuel pump is pretty easy. On this guy, it's just 2 Phillips heads right there, and then you just undo all 3 of these lines, pop these off, new one in, bolt in place, all 3 lines back on, bada bing, bada boom. Another symptom that can look like a bad fuel pump is this vacuum line right here. And you can check this by pulling this off and then putting your finger on it and feeling if it's pushing and pulling. You can usually feel that when it's cranking over. If it is, then you know that this is working. However, if you don't feel that, then it may be that this line has come off the block down in here, and I'm really hoping it's not that on this thing, because it is fucking buried, and I'd have to half disassemble the top of the engine to get to that. On most mowers, it's usually tapping right into the valve cover. On here, it's not. Don't know why. Every other Kawasaki I've worked on has it coming off the valve cover, but whatever. I digress. So yeah, gonna go get parts for that, swap that out. This mower should be good to go. So all right, new fuel pump, new fuel filter, and the problem was fuel shut off. So when this guy is in the up position, fuel's off, and when it's in that position, it's one tank, that position, the other tank. So that was a problem the whole time. And but fuel pumps do go bad, and the fuel filter did need to be changed. So no harm, no foul, really. So yeah, but whoops. Anywho, mower runs just fine now, not a problem. So yeah, now you know how to quickly diagnose a engine that was running not so long ago, but not anymore, as well as how to replace the starter solenoid in your Ferris 5900 533. That guy right there. So yeah, hope this video helps. If it did, go down there, give it a like, comment, tell me anything else you saw that was wrong on this thing that I should probably address, or other things you would like me to see work on one of these. But it's not my mower, so probably won't be able to do that, but you know, never know. I'll keep a lookout. Until next time, Tom out. Oh yeah, smash that subscribe button down there. Now Tom out.